Hello everyone, welcome to another live from the workshop. Now I'm not going to do too much talking at the start of this because at the time of recording, probably not by the time you've seen it, I hope, I have a bit of a cold, so I'm not going to talk too much. So what I'm going to make today is an idea that suddenly popped up in my head. Yesterday I was in bed, ill, and I was rewatching the Dalek movies, the Peter Cushing Dalek movies, and something that jumped out at me was the way that it got me thinking about how similar the Paradigm Daleks were to the movie Daleks. Now, I'm not going to start making the Paradigm versions of the movie Daleks, but what it did get me thinking was something else which I know a lot of people want to see, and again this is not a start to me making something, was Paradigm Daleks in classic colours. Again, I'm not going to make it, but whilst I was in bed I was doing some editing and things like that, and I decided to just muck about with Photoshop for a bit, and I came up with a design that was basically the Chase Guard Dalek as a Paradigm Dalek, which sounds very weird, I know, but the image that I came up with I was really pleased with, and so I figured that I would have a go at making it a proper custom. So that is what I am going to start with. So the first thing that I need to do is do all of the blue painting, the spheres and the dome and everything, so I'm going to get on to that now. And so here is my finished new series Paradigm Dalek Guard. I'm not quite sure what I'm calling this yet, but I obviously will by the time you see this. So I'm very pleased with how this has come out, because if you haven't already seen my other redesigned Paradigm Dalek, I uploaded it recently, go and check that out. But I actually came up with the idea for this one first. However, I didn't finish this until very recently, but I'm really pleased with how it's come out, because I am not one for, I might have said this at the start of the video already, I am not one for new series Daleks in classic colours, and that still stands for me in terms of general classic colour schemes directly put onto new series Daleks. However, as I have shown similar with my own variation of a new series Dalek as well, a new colour scheme inspired by a classic series colour scheme, that this works well for that same reason, because it looks so unique in terms of its livery design. You know, we've seen blue Daleks, we've seen gold Daleks, we've seen silver Daleks, we've seen grey Daleks, but the Guard Dalek, despite the fact that it only appeared in black and white in the show, obviously the actual Guard Daleks were from the TV movie Daleks, but it was still, the livery design was so iconic that I really thought that it would be something that I could imagine seeing it as a reused new series design in future on a Paradigm Dalek. And I think, again, I think this is why this works so well, because if the Paradigm Daleks are supposed to now be this kind of officer class Dalek, I can imagine that the ordinary
Emperor's Guard would be upgraded in a sort of, you know, officer kind of way. And so that's the reason I think this works very well. So literally all I've done for this is spray paint the whole thing, obviously spray paint the bottom silver, the dome's blue. Now I thought about making these rings gold, but I did some Photoshop test and it didn't look right. There wasn't something about it, and obviously that meant that this bit was either going to be silver or blue, and it just looked off. And I think the problem with it was the fact that because you still had a dark base and you had dark neck rings, I tried to make the neck rings silver, that didn't look right. I tried to make the base the same blue as the dome and the spheres, and again that didn't look right. And it was missing the gold, and I couldn't work out where to put it. And then I remembered, you know, I looked at it and I thought, well, you've got this ring, this random edging bit of colour around the edge, and I thought that would be the perfect place to put the gold. And it really works because it's kind of like almost the gold band. It's almost like a denomination. It's a sign. It's almost like a you know, like it's almost as if the Dalek would be wearing that as an epaulet on its shoulder, you know, to say, I have this gold band, this signifies my rank as a guard. And obviously he's got the gun as well. Now the other thing that I did leave on here was the larger hump. Now obviously on my variation of the Paradigm Dalek that I did recently, I got rid of this hump completely, and in Asylum of the Daleks they had been reduced a lot more. However, I decided to leave the bigger one on there because although it does give it the hump look, again, it makes it, to me, kind of a bit more it makes it look a bit more sort of armor plated. You know, you'd expect in a kind of, you know, if these guys are supposed to protect the Emperor, you know, they would have a bit more sort of toughness to them, and it just added that bit more armor plating. And again, it was the idea as well that of the original plan for this was obviously for this to flip out and then new weapons would come up and change round. And I wanted to retain that idea in it as well, so I thought that would be the sort of best way of keeping that in there. And again, you know, even just from the side, it just makes it look a bit more sort of imposing and big. And I think obviously that's what they were originally trying to go for, and it didn't work. But I think certainly for this specific Dalek, it works very well. Now, the gun, I have been racking around. I honestly can't remember what I've made this out of, but it's just random bits and pieces, more or less. I believe this ball is actually the same ball as is in that end. All I've done is drill a hole through it and paint the end of it white. The gunstick arm then, again, is a normal Dalek gunstick arm. The plate, I believe that is just a piece of card, a piece of plastic card that I've just cut out and then drilled a hole through the middle. And then the arm pieces are just random bits of plastic I had spare. But, you know, I contemplated giving it the standard gun and then the heavy-duty gun. But I liked the idea of it keeping its sort of manipulator arm because it just meant that it had a bit more function to it. And again, the idea, of course, is that, you know, it could swap things out, so it could have two gun sticks, you know. But I like the idea of the classic sort of look of the manipulator arm and the gun stick. And obviously, the other thing I've done as well is update the eye to a smaller one and give it a sort of Paradigm style lens. But again, it works really well because, like my redesigned Paradigm Dalek, it's the small changes. It's the fact that I've changed it so subtly, and I think that's the thing. Is as I said, with my original redesign of the Paradigm, I changed it too drastically, and it didn't look right. And it's just with this idea, it is just the little things like the changing of the small base and the inspiration behind a classic colour scheme. I didn't want to represent a classic colour scheme completely because I didn't think it worked, but I've used an inspiration behind one, and I've taken inspiration from classic looking Daleks, and it's worked absolutely brilliantly. It's worked so well. And even, I have to say, even if, for example, let's say the Asylum of the Daleks scene when the Doctor and Amy and Rory are in the Dalek Parliament and there's a few Paradigm Daleks around, imagine if you had two of these guys just stood either side of the Prime Minister, you know, the Prime Minister Dalek, just two hulking big guard Daleks in this livery. It would have been fantastic to see them because you wouldn't have needed to expand on it, because anyone who knows the show would have known that's a guard Dalek. you know, they would understand what that is. Obviously, it's an Emperor Guard Dalek, but you could say it's still a Guard Dalek, and they would recognise it and think, oh, great, you know, nice little reference to the classic ones. And it would be something that doesn't need to be expanded upon, because people would understand what it is, or, you know, or new series fans would learn what it is, you know. And I just think it's again a classic example of the Paradigm Daleks aren't a bad design. They have been badly designed. Well, I say badly designed. They've been changed too much, and I think that's kind of the point. The Dalek, going from the Bronze Dalek to the Gold Dalek, it's been changed too much. It wasn't a bad change, but it's been changed too much. So just go back a little bit, keep the design, but using that as an example, rather than changing everything so much, change the little things, and it's amazing how much different it makes. Obviously, this is just my opinion. I hope other people agree with me. I'm sure some people won't. I know there's a lot of people who don't like the Paradigm Daleks out there, but I certainly think that if they looked at sort of designs like this in future, and designs that referenced classic designs rather than copying them completely, I certainly think we could have some great sort of, you know, officer class designed Daleks and looks on our hands. But yes, that brings to a close another Live from the Workshop and my new series, Paradigm Guard Dalek, whatever I'm going to call this. As always, I hope you enjoyed this video. Like, favorite, subscribe, share, it really helps me out a lot. Be sure to check out the description below for a link to my Patreon. There's an exclusive webcomic and rewards for people who support it, and the funding generated by my Patreon helps me fund future videos. I salute you all, and I will see you with another video very soon.